The Jammu Massacres of 1947, a forgotten chapter of partition violence. The partition of India in 1947 is one of the most tragic and violent upheavals in modern history, marked by unprecedented human displacement and communal violence. While much has been written about the massacres in Punjab and Bengal, the horrors that unfolded in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly the Jammu region, remain significantly underrepresented in mainstream discourse. Between October and November 1947, a brutal pogrom targeted the Muslim population of Jammu, resulting in the death of tens of thousands and the forced displacement of hundreds of thousands to what became Pakistan. The violence, orchestrated by communal elements with alleged state complicity, was followed by retaliatory massacres of Hindus and Sikhs in Mirpur and Rajauri after tribal invasions from Pakistan. These events deeply shaped the demography and political tensions in Jammu and Kashmir, the consequences of which reverberate to this day. Background to the conflict. Political uncertainty in a princely state. In 1947, Jammu and Kashmir was a princely state ruled by Maharaja Hari Singh, a Hindu monarch governing a Muslim-majority population. With the lapse of British paramountcy, princely states were given the option to accede to either India or Pakistan or remain independent. Hari Singh initially opted for independence, a decision supported by most political groups except the Muslim Conference, which favored accession to Pakistan. The Muslim Conference had close ties with the All India Muslim League and enjoyed significant support among Muslims in the Jammu province. Tensions began to rise as Muslim Conference leaders like Sadr Ibrahim sought assistance from Pakistan for an armed rebellion in Poonch. Pakistan, under Defence Minister Liaquat Ali Khan, approved plans for tribal incursions into Kashmir, while weapons were funneled to rebels in the region. Meanwhile, the Maharaja, under pressure from Arya Samaj and Hindu nationalist factions, allegedly shifted from his earlier non-sectarian stance, appointing Hindu officers to key positions in the military and police after British officers stepped down. The communal climate. The communal environment in the subcontinent had already been inflamed by violence in Rawalpindi and Sialkot, where Muslims reportedly massacred Hindus and Sikhs. Refugees from these regions fled to Jammu, bringing harrowing stories that stoked anti-Muslim sentiment. Though Jammu remained relatively calm until late September 1947, a sense of vengeance and fear of fifth column activities among Muslims began to spread among Hindu and Sikh refugees and the local population. Despite escorting tens of thousands of Muslims and non-Muslims safely across borders during August, September, the state forces and administration later became implicated in a violent campaign against Muslims in Jammu. The Jammu Massacres, a coordinated pogrom. From mid-October 1947, violence against Muslims escalated dramatically. On the 14th of October, RSS and Akali Dal activists launched coordinated attacks on villages such as Amri, Cheek, and Kokpura. The state forces, under the control of Maharaja Hari Singh's administration, are alleged to have not only failed to prevent the violence but actively supported it. Arms were reportedly supplied to the rioters, and Muslim soldiers were demobilized, stripping the community of any means of defense. Mass killings and forced migrations. Entire villages were razed, and Muslims were slaughtered en masse. In Jammu city, Muslims were starved and cut off from resources. In Talab Kartikan and Mohalla Ustad, surrounded Muslims attempted to resist but were eventually forced to surrender. Thousands were loaded onto trucks under the pretense of being transported safely to Pakistan. Instead, they were massacred en route by armed mobs composed of Sikhs and RSS men. Women were abducted, raped, or killed. According to local accounts, including those by journalist Ved Busson, the Ramnagar reserve was littered with the corpses of Gujjar men, women, and children, Muslims who had previously supplied milk to the city. The killings extended beyond Jammu city to Udhampur, Kathua, Chenani, and Budawar, with women being raped and entire communities annihilated. Casualty estimates and refugee exodus. Estimations of the number of Muslims killed in Jammu vary widely. Early Pakistani sources estimated 50,000 deaths. Joint investigations by Indian and Pakistani representatives placed the figure at around 70,000. Ved Busson and Ian Copland suggest up to 100,000 may have been killed. The Times of London quoted a figure of 237,000 Muslims killed or displaced. The statesman Ian Stevens claimed that 500,000 Muslims, the entire Muslim element of the population, had either been killed or driven out. Christopher Snedden places the number between 20,000 and 100,000. Refugee reports show that more than 200,000 Muslims fled to Pakistan. By mid-1949, over 333,000 refugees from Indian-administered Kashmir had been counted in Pakistan, though around 100,000 reportedly returned to their homes after conditions stabilized. Demographic consequences. The massacres and subsequent migration drastically altered the demography of Jammu region. 1941 Muslim population. 2011 Muslim population. Estimated loss. Jammu district. 39.6%. 7.1%. Tilder 151,000. Kathua. 25.3%. 10.4%. Tilder 29, 500. Rizi. 68.1%. 58.4%. Tilder 59, 800. Jammu province, Exkalpunj, Mirpur. 44.5%. 27.9%. Tilder 246,000. These numbers support claims that the violence was not only retaliatory but also aimed at engineering a demographic shift to reduce Muslim presence in the region. Retaliatory violence in Rajaury and Mirpur. As the state-backed violence raged in Jammu, retaliatory atrocities unfolded in areas taken over by Pakistani tribal invaders. Rajaury. Rajaury fell to tribal and rebel forces on the 7th of November 1947. Massacres of Hindus and Sikhs followed, with many women committing suicide to avoid sexual assault. Some survivors were sheltered by local Muslims. When Indian forces retook the town in April 1948, a monument was erected to honor the victims. Mirpur. On the 25th of November 1947, tribal raiders turned to Mirpur. Allegations, though difficult to independently verify, suggest that up to 20,000 non-Muslims were killed and over 2,500 abducted. The day is now marked as Mirpur Day in Indian-administered Kashmir. Reflections on historical silence. Prominent voices have decried the silence surrounding these massacres. Mahatma Gandhi, in a speech on the 25th of December 1947, directly blamed the Maharaja and external elements for the killings in Jammu. Journalist Ved Bhushan, who witnessed the events, consistently emphasized that these atrocities were politically orchestrated to manipulate demography, blaming the RSS and state authorities. He poignantly remarked, "A communalist and killer has no religion. It was the humanity that was the victim of communal fanatics. We should learn appropriate lessons from history and not allow the communal fanatics to disturb peace and harmony." Despite this, many perpetrators later found political refuge, some joining the ruling National Conference and even becoming ministers in subsequent decades. The Jammu massacres of 1947 remain one of the least acknowledged but most devastating chapters of partition violence. They serve as a chilling reminder of how political ambition, communal hatred, and state complicity can converge to unleash unspeakable horror. A full reckoning with these events is crucial, not only for the sake of historical accuracy but also to ensure that such violence is never repeated. As the conflict over Jammu and Kashmir persists, recognizing and memorializing the suffering of all communities, Muslim, Hindu, and Sikh, is essential for any meaningful reconciliation.